Finally, Saluki softball at home this weekend. It's the Coach B Classic, and the Salukis return home after 3 really tough weekends in terms of competition. I know right now, Coach Sewell, you and the ladies are just good to be back here at Charlotte West Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, we're here for the fresh air and the sun and something familiar, I think, more than anything. Like, it's time to get back on schedule. So.
Coach, I know it's always hard to believe when you get to this point and 3 weekends go by and you're already in double-digit games played. It goes by that quickly. This past weekend in San Marcos, what did you believe were the biggest takeaways for your team?
Yeah, I think we're still dealing with such a fine line of ability to make mistakes with the schedule. I think, I forget what day it is. Monday's loss to KU really kicked us in the teeth, up 1-0, and that was, I thought we played okay on Sunday. I didn't think we came out real well. I thought we came out flat. And we talked about that, like trying to really figure out what the personality is for this team. And I really thought we had it on Sunday, but or on Monday, we really went all in on that Kansas game, especially pitching wise. And I thought mentally that one really kicked us in the mouth. Because we had the opportunity again. I can, in my head, I was thinking this morning, I was having a cup of coffee at like 5:45, and the things keeping me awake are just, we don't advance on a base running situation. We didn't catch a line drive that I thought should have gotten caught, didn't catch a pop fly, and we threw home when we should have thrown to second base. And in certain games, you can play with those mistakes. But in these games, that razor thin edge is decided in probably those 4 plays. So
you go through those situations as a coach, and for your players, is it much quicker for players to kind of move on and be like, hey, it's time to get to the next one more than the coaches?
Yes, 100%. And it's not that they don't care.
Yeah.
It's that they have to, right? So there's multiple games and multiple weekends. We don't have that one game a day scenario very often right now. So you have to be able to move on. And we do talk about that. Now, I have probably worn my patience thin about talking about certain things and certain mistakes. Like, that's just getting inexcusable, and I'm getting impatient. Catching and throwing are things, and base running that we hammer in our program, but they're still bothering us at this point. And we're getting, it's funny because we're in it, right? We're in the fishbowl, so we feel it the most. Whereas I think outsiders are looking and saying, hey, it's still early, we're close, that kind of thing. But as a coaching staff and as the inner core, it's really hard sometimes to move on from some things that we've seen our kids do well, but they're not necessarily performing once they cross the white line.
What do you find when you're in this situation, the best course of action from your spot? In terms of whether, I don't know if it's so much your messaging, because messaging gets talked about a ton, but a lot more is just the action within your teams. But where do you sense right now, Coach Sewell, of what you look at right here on February 26th as we record it? What's the most important thing you got to do today?
Well, and I think you have to go to the practice field. I mean, you have to go outside.
Yeah.
And you have to get out there, and I always debrief myself in a way of like things, we all have 25 moleskin notebooks that we're writing in all the time. Here's all the things. We just keep a running list of things that we've got to figure out and got to get to in the practice plan. And I think today we've got a really specific practice plan that we're going to tackle. But I was talking to somebody, I think it was even Tim, about this weekend the defense and the pitching showed up and we lost that piece. And it's kind of playing, it's like that game you guys play on the scoreboard with the kuka shells and the ball. And, and one is defense, one is pitching, and one is hitting. Our ball had been in, hitting for a while and some pitching, and then we lost defensively at times. And then this weekend it moved around again, and we were like, we raised the kuka shell and there was no ball underneath the hitting piece. So if we had lost all 3, I think I would be more concerned, but I think you have to get to the practice field, and it's like I told them, when you play hard and play as well as you've played at times, we have enough film to show you the good things. We don't need to necessarily beat you with the bad things. I do think those will get cleaned up. but I don't want them to completely ignore things, and move on in a way that we don't learn our lesson. So.
Look, when you're 1-12, it's and with the standards that you guys have set for your program, even with the difficult schedule, no one's going to, man, it's all smiles and everything's great right now. But what are things that you're seeing right now, Coach Sewell, that you're still going, I do like what we have. Like, there's still a lot of potential with this team.
Yeah, I thought Mackenzie Newcomb got to her pitch count this weekend and was really good. She didn't have a win to show for it, but .53 ERA. That's the person that we were trying to get to. Had an early January sort of, just wasn't feeling good, wasn't feeling right, was really stiff and sore, and now we're starting to get outside. I liked her. I like that when we come back, no one hides really from their mistakes. You can go lock yourself in your dorm room and say, I don't want anything to do with that film. Like, I was bad. I know I was bad. But we still have players that are coming in trying to figure out ways. Like, all I need to do is just this little adjustment. It's not like I have to change up my whole game, anything like that. So there'll be bullpens this morning. There'll be early hitters today before practice. We'll go hard like 2:30 to 5:30 today. We lifted this morning, so we don't have that downtick in what I would say like the energy to train and to get better. Sometimes you can have teams that just get punched in the mouth enough that they're like, all right, I don't need it anymore. I don't get that feeling. Even I think they knew by Texas State on Monday that we were out of pitching. We kind of knew what situation we were in. We were trying to make the best of it on getaway day, and we didn't have it. We'd really mentally and emotionally invested in that Kansas game.
Look, when you're going through times like this, your best players are always going to be in the forefront. What have you seen from Jackie, despite the team results not being there? What have you seen from her leadership to help get this team through this rough patch?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I think it's key that the captains are still available and really helping the younger players understand. And it's not just on Jackie. Jackie had a tough weekend. She probably Anna, Emily Williams, some of that core group, Emma Austin are still didn't have great weekends. But it's not like they're running from what they did. I want to practice. I want to figure this out. Can I come early? Can we work on this one specific thing? And I just don't think that a Jackie is going to linger in that, like, .083 range. Like, It's just a product. And I think she's talked about this on previous podcasts. Like, when you can't just ride the high when you're up, you have to understand that when you're down, you will come back up. And I think that's the best example that she sets. You can't be hot all the time. And somebody in that moment, and that's what I think we're still trying to figure out. We lost that core 7 or 8 last year, and that's what they did. When one was up, one was down, and they all sort of went like this as the season went along. And I think we're waiting on, okay, Jackie and maybe sometimes Anna deserve to have a down weekend. Who's going to step up in their place? And that, what we play doesn't always allow for that. But I still think my gut feeling is when we get into this homestand is that we're going to settle better into our personality and who we really are.
It was one of the talking points that you brought up with me last year, which I thought was a really unique way to do it, and it was you would always show Saluki Hall of Famers numbers when they were freshmen. And look, this year you got a lot of youth, especially in the pitching side for your team this year. How much is that important factor of not putting the pressure of saying, hey, this is, if you want to be a Hall of Famer, this is where you go. It's, look, like even those who are the best within our program, there's a period of time where there's a little bit of an adjustment or learning period, especially as freshmen. How do you help them through that? And especially when there is no greater teaching tool than going and getting those innings and what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and it's I was trying to talk to them. The universe is not battering you just for fun, right? It's not someone sitting somewhere with a voodoo doll poking you in the side. You have control. I think sometimes as athletes, they start to feel like I can't control what's happening to me. I'm young. I've never had this happen. I've never felt this way on the mound or at the plate. The ball always looked like a beach ball, and I always threw it where I wanted it. And really, that wasn't the truth. They're just so highly successful coming into Division I programs that they haven't had to then hack into their skills of just like complete failure, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have that weekend when you just dump out, and you're going to be kind of reeling from that. And it's really just about choices. And we talk a lot about that. You can choose to continue that streak, or you can choose to come and get better.
Yeah.
So I think right now we need a lot of physical practice. I do, like we need time on our own field, and I'm looking forward to today and tomorrow. If I could practice every day of every hour of every minute right now, I think that's what the kids would do. Because I think they know, like, now I know what I need to be working on. I have some ideas about how we can do this. But you're right, like time in scrimmaging and things like that, live hitters, live bullpens, and time on the field. There's no better way to teach a player, like, this is what you can do. Let's remember that was one bad thing. We're not all bad things. So.
No doubt. And we have talked about so much throughout our time together, and I know it's been talked about even way before with Coach Blaylock here, that Charlotte West is a great environment.
Yep.
I know sometimes the pick-me-up you need is
Yes.
to get your home fans
Yes.
out there to support you.
Yeah.
So looking at this weekend with the Coach B Classic, of course, Central Arkansas, Purdue in the mix as well, coming from the Big Ten. What do you see from this weekend in terms of the competition side, Coach Sewell?
Yeah, I think Central Arkansas is a lot like us. They've had, some big transfers come in. They've had some big transfers go out. They've had to reshape their program around this idea of like high mid majors. They had a big run a couple years ago. They're well coached. They've won some big games, and I think they've lost some games where they're right in it. They had a good game the other day, scored 5 or 6 off of the kid from Oklahoma State. So they can be very, very scrappy. Purdue, I think, is another one that's very interesting. Has, like, Belmont beat them the other day, but then Purdue had I think a top 40 win. So it's, you can tell
Yeah.
teams are just trying to figure it out right now, and Purdue's definitely one that's trying to figure out. I think we split with them last year, so it'll be interesting to see them again. And I think Purdue Fort Wayne is on the back end of the schedule.
Yeah.
Again, just another mid-major who's, a lot of comings and goings on the roster, but they always come down and play very well. So.
Coach B Classic, I know, is always an important weekend just for your team.
Yeah.
To always remember kind of the importance, the reasoning for the Classic, of course, the impact of this weekend, and just right now you just want to get back to winning ways to get a good pick me
Yeah,
up.
I'm looking forward to just getting our personality back at home, and I think the fans allow for that. Like the feel good of when you hit something and it goes really far. The chance to show out in front of your people. We've definitely had an interesting run of road games where we've we've been quite heckled at times, and I think it's good for our program to understand, like, again, that's the road environment. So now come home, enjoy the good things here, and one of the biggest ones, of course, is the fans. So.
No doubt, and the good thing is all these games will be on ESPN Plus this weekend as well. Mike True, Kate Crumbar will be on the call all weekend long. Coach Sewell, appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend, and looking forward to making our way out to see some Saluki softball at home.
Sounds good. Thank you.